From the BBC World Service, in association with ABC and Akashvani, this is Stumped.
Hello, I'm Alison Mitchell and welcome to Stumped. With me is Jim Maxwell for the ABC, who's in Adelaide, and Charu Sharma for Akashvani is in Bangalore. Now, we know now the full lineup for the ICC Women's Cricket World Cup later this year after Bangladesh and Pakistan came through the six-team qualifying event. They join India, Australia, England, New Zealand, South Africa and Sri Lanka in the tournament. That is due to get underway on the 29th of September. India are the hosts, and that means the ICC are now likely to adopt a hybrid hosting model following Pakistan's qualification. So that's like what we saw at the Men's Champions Trophy. So great joy for Bangladesh and Pakistan, but crushing disappointment for West Indies, who will miss their first 50-over World Cup in 25 years after finishing their qualifying games level on points with Bangladesh, but behind on net run rate by 0.01. Well, Captain Hayley Matthews says that they are heartbroken. Same sentiment to Scotland, who needed to beat Ireland in their final game to stick in with a chance, but they lost by 1 wicket off the last ball of the match. Jim, what about West Indies, though? No West Indies at a World Cup. I mean, you think of senior players like Stefani Taylor, Deandra Dottin, who they certainly missed through injury in that qualification tournament. Both of those are 33, and you just think, well, the next ODI World Cup might be too far off for them. What do you feel the future looks like for them?
A little bit ropey, probably. I'm not sure if they've got the quality of players coming through to replace those two stars for the West Indies. And it's a consistent worry with the West Indies, whose cricket, men and women, it's come a bit spasmodic in recent years, to put it at its best. So hopefully they can find sufficient quality replacements and rebuild. But at the moment, they'll be spectators. So that's not much fun, is it? Particularly in a 50-over competition, which takes a little longer to get through than the T20 stuff. So, yes, I'm a bit worried about the West Indies on all fronts, but particularly with those players you mentioned moving away from the game at some point in the near future.
Yeah, you need to be in those World Cups for the visibility, don't you, to inspire those, youngsters who are playing in the domestic comps. And I forgot Afi Fletcher, who's 38 years old in that West Indies side. Charu, if we focus on the teams who did qualify, Pakistan went unbeaten in the qualifiers on home soil. And that comes after they lost 5 ODIs in a row beforehand. So, how much confidence do you think they will have taken from this particular run?
Well, quite obviously, it's a huge confidence boost. But they will realize that it was under home conditions, though they've beaten some pretty big teams, as we know, and all of them. So it's wonderful to go through a tournament unbeaten, and there's so much more confidence that one can take from that. But I think the girls are sensible enough. They know that much bigger battles await when the World Cup does come. And also, it's 5 months away. So plenty can happen in that time frame, but on a more macro level, I do think it's a big inspirational event for Pakistan, young Pakistan girls to take to the game, because to see their girls succeeding in their own home territory, as we all know, there hasn't been too much cricket in Pakistan, and when the young girls see their women's team doing so well, I think overall for Pakistan, it's a fabulous thing to happen for the girls of Pakistan to take to the game.
When you mention Pakistan and the impact of them playing, in front of their home fans on home soil, that of course was something that Bangladesh missed out on, didn't they? They were meant to host the last Women's T20 World Cup, couldn't because of political unrest, and the tournament was moved to the UAE. So I feel like it's a tremendous boost for Bangladesh, for their team to have qualified for this 50-over World Cup. And it would be just their second appearance in the ODI World Cup. They did make the 2022 edition. They finished second last there, hence having to come through qualifying. But yeah, they made it, having won 3 out of 5. And funnily enough, actually, one of those 2 matches they lost was to the West Indies, who eventually didn't get through. But yeah, a real boost for Bangladesh, certainly. Charu, you come back to India, if we're throwing ahead to that World Cup, they have never won the ODI World Cup, the women. In 2017, they were memorably runners-up to England in that final at Lord's. But it will be the first World Cup since Mitali Raj and Jhulan Goswami retired. Do you feel this could be India's year? We're 3 years into the WPL now and everything that has done for the women's game.
Well, I still think Australia and England. Well, but that's because Australia are just so far ahead of everybody. And even though, of course, India will enjoy home conditions, and you're right about the WPL, so much more talent is bursting through, although, of course, only a small number can play for the country. But I do think it's all for Harmanpreet to win. You mentioned two big names, Mithali Raj, who might be meeting later today, by the way, at a golf tournament. Look forward to chatting with her. And Julan not playing. But I do think Harmanpreet's form has been so up and down. And if she can have a great tournament, that'll mean such a lot to the Indian girls, because she is now, the big one, the big leader. And she was so close to winning it for India in 2017. I'm sorry, I'm going to hark back to that, because that was a match for India to win. And Shrub Soul came and she did what she did. Talk about heartbreak for the West Indies now. It was heartbreak for India in 2017. Yes, they have the personnel. I think the biggest improvement in the Indian women's cricket team has been athleticism. A lot of the younger girls are just stronger, and they're willing to dive and slide and stop the runs and take the catches. That should and could make a very big difference. Otherwise, of course, there's no real hole in the Indian lineup. I mean, they've got a reasonable fast bowling outfit now. They've always been very good at spin. And if Harmanpreet can do some wonder with the bat, then yes, India is certainly deserving to be one of the leading contenders. But Australia and England, they will continue to be very tough competitors.
Next on Stumped, in a tradition dating back over 150 years, the latest edition of the Little Yellow Bible, the Wisden Almanac, has been released. Wisden's 5 cricketers of the year are England trio Gus Atkinson, Jamie Smith and Sophie Ecclestone, with Hampshire spinner Liam Dawson and Surrey fast bowler Dan Worrell completing the lineup. Now, the awards are based on performances in the previous English summer, and no player can win the award more than once in their career. The India duo of Jasprit Bumrah and Smriti Mandana have been crowned the leading cricketers in the world, with West Indies' Nicholas Pooran named the world's leading T20 player. My own edition is yet to come through the letterbox, but I have read the editor's notes because they always spark some good debates, and this year is no exception. So let's speak to the editor himself. Lawrence Booth, welcome back to Stumped. How are you?
Hi, thanks for having me. Very well, thank you.
Good. Now, our listeners will be familiar with Ecclestone, Smith and Atkinson. We'll come to your notes in a minute. Just tell us a little bit more about the 5 cricketers of the year.
Yes, well, the 3 Surrey players, as it turned out. I mean, they won the championship for the 3rd year in a row, which is the first time a county had done that since Yorkshire in the 1960s. And Dan Worrell, the Australian-born bowler who's now qualified for England, and that could raise some interesting scenarios later in the year. He's one of those 3 Surrey players. He took over 50 wickets at 16 apiece and was really central to Surrey's triumph, so quite hard to ignore him. And then a couple of Surrey players who got the award really for what they did for England. Gus Atkinson, who began his career with 12 wickets on debut. Jimmy Anderson's final test, but Atkinson stole the show with a 12 for against West Indies at Lords, and then he added to that with a 5 for against Sri Lanka, a century from number 8, for goodness sake, and then a hat-trick against New Zealand, which wasn't in our parameters. It wasn't the English summer, but it was the icing on the cake for Atkinson's first year as a Test cricketer. And then Jamie Smith, the third of those Surrey players, who sort of ended this long-running wicket-keeping debate that English cricket's had. You know, is it Johnny Bairstow? Is it Ben Foakes? Is it Jos Buttler? And Smith came in and ended that debate straight away, really. 70 and 95 against West Indies and an excellent century against Sri Lanka. And then the other 2, Liam Dawson, the Hampshire spinner, who's got a case now for being probably the best all-rounder in county cricket. Last year he took over 50 wickets, scored nearly 1,000 runs. Though Hampshire didn't win the title, they would have, probably struggled without him. And Sophie Ecclestone, who has for a long time now, she's been knocking on the door for the 5. She's come close a few times. And though it went wrong for England's women in the winter, in the summer they went unbeaten. She took 26 wickets at an average of 9 point something, which are crazy figures really. And she was the driving force behind England's unbeaten summer. So those are the 5.
Well, Lawrence, nice to be talking to you about Wisden again. Australian-born Dan Worrell qualifies as an England player and said he'd take the call if he was asked. Could he be England's secret weapon?
Hi, Jim. Good to see you. It's going to be an interesting one. He did the Surrey press day about a month ago, and of course all the questions were about, are you going to play for England? And he said a couple of times, look, if the call comes along, I'll take it. But he's quite relaxed about it. That is not his main goal in life. He's been through a bit. He's in his sort of early to mid 30s now. In fact, I asked him a question. I said, do you think that a 5 foot 10 inch, 85 mile an hour bowler could succeed in Australia? And he goes, do you want the honest answer? Probably not. So he doesn't think he'll get picked. I think England are sort of lukewarm on him. They recognise he's a classy bowler, but they think his record with the Kookaburra isn't quite strong enough to force his way into that team. And of course, we look at the seamers that have succeeded for Australia over the last decade. Cummins, Hazelwood, Stark, they're all 6 foot plus, probably faster than Worrell. Hazelwood's about possibly the same speed. They land it in the same place time and again. Those are the attributes that work in Australia for seam bowling. Whether Worrell is quite there, I don't know. So, but it'd be a hell of a story, wouldn't it? And can you imagine him opening the bowling in the first test in Perth and the reaction he might get from the Australian crowd?
Lawrence, hi, this is Charu Sharma from Bangalore. Thanks once again for joining us. No secrecy about the weaponry of Jasprit Bumrah and Smriti Mandhana, Wisden's leading cricketers of the world. Can you fill us in a little more about the discussion surrounding those two?
You know what, Bumrah, there wasn't much discussion because if you were to choose a World 11 for any of the 3 formats, my argument is Bumrah is the first name in each format. And that is by definition the leading cricketer in the world. I mean, he has become astonishing in everything he's done. Even, the Border Gavaskar trophy we've just seen when he took, I think, 32 wickets at 13. Without him, it could have been 5-0 to Australia. He's that good. And actually, he could win the series for India and England this summer by himself. If he has 2 good games, he could blow England away. He is that good. And I think he took 72 wickets at under 15 last year in Test cricket. He's the first bowler in the history of the game to have at least 200 wickets at an average of under 20. These are all-time great performances. And then, of course, he wins that T20 final from an impossible position for India against South Africa in Bridgetown. So whatever the format, he rises to the top. And Mandhana was almost as straightforward, actually, because she scored something like nearly 1,700 runs in all international cricket. And that was a record for a woman across an international year. And for that award not to go to an Australian takes a lot of doing, because the Australian team is so far out ahead of the rest that Mandhana forced her way in and showed her class. So yeah, delighted to give it to both of them.
Lawrence, you've also said that the World Test Championship is a shambles masquerading as a showpiece. And there's been talks of a 2-tier Test Championship. Is that the answer, or should they try something else? What do you reckon?
I like the World Test Championship as a concept, because we all know that Test cricket is fighting a battle against, the white ball franchise tournaments. I think it's structured poorly. I don't think any other sport would tolerate a system where teams play different numbers of games against different teams. They don't play all the sides against different length series, and you need a calculator to work out the percentage at the end of it. It's not a straightforward process for the average fan in the street. Football operates along the lines of 3 points for a win, 1 for a draw, and everyone can work out what the hell's going on. So I'd like to see a more structured, symmetrical tournament. You could play it over 4 years, home and away, minimum of 3 tests per series, and that way it'd be straightforward to follow, and we wouldn't have debates about whether, say, South Africa deserved to be in the final this year against Australia, when South Africa played 2 tests against India, none at all against Australia or England, and not their fault. I mean, the lopsided structure of the international schedule is the problem here, but I think cricket can do better, and we need to get the World Test Championship right.
Lawrence, thank you very much for being with us on Stumped, and congratulations on getting out the 162nd edition of Wisden. We know you haven't been there for all of them.
It feels like it sometimes, but thanks very much for having me.
Pleasure. Lawrence Booth, the editor of Wisden Cricketer's Almanac, with us on Stumped. Well, that's all we've got time for on this week's Stumped. So my thanks to Jim Maxwell, to Charu Sharma, and to all of you for listening, and we'll see you again next week. Until then, bye for now.